I never thought of myself as a killer. At least, not in the way you're probably thinking. I didn't plan it. I didn't prepare for it. It wasn't methodical or even intentional. I just didn't stop it. And sometimes, letting something happen is worse than making it happen. People like to say, I murdered 5 men in the mountains of Yuba County, but that's not how I see it. I let the cold do its job. I let time work them down, and I watched. It was colder than usual that night. The wind screamed through the pine trees like a dying animal. Snow was already beginning to fall, soft at first, harmless even, but anyone who's lived in the Sierra Nevada long enough knows better. That soft powder becomes a grave faster than you'd think. I was out in my old truck, like I always was back then, drifting through the back roads between Forbestown and Oroville, hiding, avoiding the city, avoiding noise, avoiding people, and definitely avoiding my own thoughts. You don't choose a life in the woods unless you're running from something. Me, I was running from everything. I was about to turn back to my cabin, an old, splintered thing I found years ago when I went missing on purpose. Then I saw headlights, 2 of them, faint, approaching slowly. That road didn't get visitors, especially not in that weather. I turned off my own lights and pulled to the side. Watched. It was an old Mercury Montego, pale, blue, clunky. 5 guys inside, young. Couldn't see their faces clearly at first, just silhouettes. They looked confused, lost. I could tell the moment they stopped the car and stepped out. Their breath fogged in the air like ghosts. I stayed quiet. Then curiosity got the better of me. I rolled down my window and called out, calm as ever. You boys all right? The one with the glasses turned. He had that look, vacant, disconnected, like he wasn't really seeing me, but something behind me. The car, it just died, he said. Voice flat, almost emotionless. Another one, curly-haired, laughed. We went to see the basketball game. I raised an eyebrow. Basketball in this cold. The heavyset one in the white jacket looked like he was about to cry. We shouldn't be here. This isn't right, he whispered. They were clearly not from around here. I could smell city panic all over them. I could have left them. Should have, maybe. But instead, I offered a ride. I said I had a place just a few miles into the woods. Told them there was a fire, and food, and shelter from the storm. They hesitated. Of course they did. But the curly-haired one, he smiled. It only took that one smile. They all got in. The truck creaked under their weight, and for a second, I thought about what I was doing. But then I heard it again. That voice, the one that always followed me. You're not alone tonight. And I drove. The cabin was nothing special. 4 walls, 1 fireplace, 1 locked shed, and a roof barely strong enough to hold back the snow. They looked around when we arrived. The one with glasses kept glancing over his shoulder, like he expected someone or something to follow us inside. The chubby one refused to go in at first, said he needed to call his mother. I told him there was no phone here, no power either. He started breathing fast, hands twitching. But the curly-haired kid just laughed again and said, "Hey man, it's just an adventure." I smiled at him. He reminded me of someone I knew a long time ago, someone I buried. They settled in eventually. I gave them what little I had, some beans, some stale bread, warm water. They huddled near the fire. I didn't sleep. I sat in the shadows and listened. They whispered, some cried, some argued. The big one, he kept muttering about something being wrong, and I just watched them. like you watch deer when they wander into your backyard and don't know you're watching. Morning never came, not really. The snow kept falling, heavier now. The road was gone. They started getting restless. One of them wanted to go back to the car. Another one said they should wait. The curly-haired kid, he wanted to play cards, like this was a game. I remember thinking, one of you is going to die tonight. I don't know who yet, but it's going to happen. And I didn't say a word. That night, I locked the cabin. From the outside, I told them I was going out to get help. I didn't. I stood by the shed, smoking, listening. They screamed at first, then begged, then cried, then silence. I waited. Hours passed, and then, one by one, I watched them try to escape. One broke a window. Another tried to climb the chimney, but the cold was stronger than fear, stronger than youth, stronger than hope. By morning, one of them was already frozen beneath the trees. Another wandered off into the forest. I followed his prints for a while just to see how far he got. He made it maybe 2 miles before curling up beside a fallen log. He looked peaceful, almost like he didn't even feel the moment death took him. I stayed in the cabin for weeks after snow buried the car, buried the bodies, buried the screams. When spring came, I left. No one ever came looking for me. They were too busy trying to explain why 5 boys from Yuba disappeared in the mountains. But I know why. Because I was there. Because I watched. Because sometimes, death doesn't need a weapon. Just silence and a little snow. The next morning, the sky didn't clear. The snow fell heavier, thick, relentless. The trails leading out of the cabin vanished under white silence. No roads, no tire marks, no radio signal. They were starting to understand. Jack, the curly-haired one, always smiling, was the first to realize something wasn't right. He stepped outside with a torn pair of wool gloves, looked at the snow-caked vehicles, especially my pickup and their Mercury. The tires were flat. I had done that the night before, quietly, surgically. I still had the pocket knife in my jacket. Small cuts, just enough to let the air bleed out slow. Patience is everything. We should head back, Jack said, scratching his head, the basketball game. My mum's gonna freak if I don't show. I nodded, gave him a soft smile. Sure, once the snow stops. Gary, the one with glasses, didn't say much, but he looked at me, and that look, I didn't like it. There was something behind his eyes. Not fear, not confusion. It was as if he could see through me. I've seen that kind of look before. When I was a kid, I had a dog named Bullet. He was my only friend for the first 12 years of my life. Then one day, my stepfather said I had to grow up. I killed Bullet that night. Didn't cry, didn't look back. What I learned that day was simple. The strong don't mourn, the strong control, and the strong never let anyone see weakness. Gary, with his quiet, knowing stare, looked at me like I was still that boy with the bloodied hands. I hated that look. Mikey, the smallest one, twitchy eyes, always shivering like a rabbit in the cold, began to panic. Not from the cold, from something else. I heard something out in the woods. He whispered one night. I heard it too. Not an animal, not the wind. It was a scratching sound against the back of the cabin, slow, deliberate, like fingernails across old wood. I opened the door. Nothing there. Mikey didn't sleep after that. He curled up in the corner, whispering, "It's coming. It knows we're here." I didn't know what he meant. Maybe he wasn't wrong. Ted, the oldest, strongest, tried to play protector. He blocked the windows with chairs, gathered wood, kept the fire going, shared food. He treated me like a helpful stranger. "We appreciate you," he said. "When the weather clears, we'll be on our way." I just smiled, that old, crooked smile. Not the kind from kindness, the kind my stepfather used when he was about to hit someone. Then I started testing them. One night, I left no food, nothing but a half-empty pack of stale crackers. The next morning, they stared at each other. Jack wasn't smiling anymore. Gary asked, "Did someone sneak food last night?" I said nothing, just stood by the window, watching. They were beginning to turn on each other. I didn't have to lay a finger on them. They'd dismantle themselves from the inside. On the third night, I locked the cabin from the outside. Mikey screamed first when he realized the door wouldn't open. Ted banged on the walls. Gary started praying. Jack laughed, manic. "This is a test, a survival game. Maybe we're on a show." I sat outside, near the fire, roasted venison, drank black coffee, wrote in my journal. They began to fracture on the third day, like rats sealed in a box. The next morning, I opened the door. No one greeted me. They just sat there, staring, still, filthy. One of them had pissed himself. They weren't the same boys from the night of the basketball game. They were husks, waiting, empty, frayed minds. I handed them food, just enough for 4. I made it clear, "One of you will have to go without." Silence. Jack chuckled. "I'll skip. I'm not that hungry." Then he turned to Mikey. "You want mine? Take it. But you go outside tonight. Deal?" I said nothing. I didn't need to. I just watched and learned. How fear eats through friendship. How a single breadcrumb can crack brotherhood. That night, Mikey disappeared. No screams, no footprints. No one asked me. Only for remained. Mikey was gone. No one asked. No one called his name. The truth is, maybe they knew. They knew who I was. They knew Mikey wouldn't be coming back. But in hunger, in cold, in those endless, sleepless nights, they chose silence. They thought silence would save them. I knew better. Silence is a slow death. Day 5. Gary wasn't sleeping. I saw him muttering to himself in the corner of the cabin, whispering like a man praying or maybe cursing. "Mum's coming. She'll find me. Don't let him eat me." He didn't say my name anymore. Didn't thank me when I handed him food. He knew. I sat just a few feet away, wiping my pocket knife clean. Ivory handle. Blade sharp enough to cut without pressing. I waited. Night 6. I brought in some wood and a couple of protein bars. Only 3 portions. Gary stared at me. Jack laughed, wild and broken. "Oh, it's a game now, huh? Who eats? Who starves? Or maybe this time, who gets eaten?" Ted snapped. "Shut up." Jack laughed harder, but there was no joy in it. His lips were cracked, eyes twitching, hands trembling. I placed the portions down, stepped back. They stared. No one moved. I could see it now, pure animal. Near midnight, I heard the door creak open. A shadow slipped out Gary. I followed. He didn't go far. Just behind the cabin, crouched in the snow, digging at a frozen patch of earth. I crept up behind him, looking for something. I asked. He jolted, eyes wide. I buried something here. What is it?" A photo of my mum. He held it up crumpled, wet from tears. I knelt beside him, pulled out a pen and scrap of paper from my coat. "Write her name down." Gary's hand shook, but he obeyed. I took the note, looked him in the eye. "I'll tell her. Gary died because he wasn't strong enough. He didn't scream, didn't fight. He just cried. When I slid the blade into his neck, the blood sprayed like red wine across a white tablecloth. I whispered, "No one remembers the week." Next morning, only 3 of us left: Ted, Jack, and me. No one asked about Gary. Ted fed the fire, silent. Jack didn't laugh anymore. His eyes were sunken, skin pale. He gripped a burnt stick like it was a weapon. I liked that. I liked when fear made men into beasts. Day 7. I locked the door from the inside this time. Jack was asleep. Ted awake. I sat next to him, staring at the flames. "You're the strongest one here," I said. He didn't answer. I had a father once. Well, stepfather. I told him about Bullet, the belt, the words my father always said. To be strong, you must sacrifice. Ted sighed. "You think that makes you strong?" I looked him dead in the eye. "I don't think, I know." Jack disappeared on the 8th night. No blood, no scream, just gone. Next morning, I sat by the fire, eating. Ted stared. Finally, he asked, "What did we do to you?" I paused. "Nothing." "Then why us?" I smiled, "Because no one remembers people like you." Day 9. It was just me and Ted now. No one spoke. No one slept beside each other. No one trusted anyone. The cabin had become a dead zone, where only instinct remained undying. I was the grim reaper of that place. I dreamed, but not the usual kind. I saw Gary sitting by the fire, blood dripping from his neck, but his mouth was smiling. I saw Jack pacing with a burning stick, back and forth like a restless ghost, eyes sunken, stabbing guilt into me with each step. And Mikey never turned to face me. He stood with his back to me, hand reaching out, as if inviting me closer, whispering, "You think we forgot?" I woke up with my hands wrapped around my own neck. Day 10, ... Ted did something I didn't expect. He laughed. Not like Jack's crazy laugh, not like Mikey's smirk, but a quiet laugh, the kind a man makes when he knows the ending. "I know you killed them." I didn't respond. "But you missed something." "What?" He pointed upward. At the ceiling of the cabin, something had been carved into the wood, faint but real. I climbed up to read it. Knife-scratched letters. T. Maddox, 1968-3 went missing. 1 came back. My heart pounded not from fear, from realization. I wasn't the first. Someone else had survived here before. Someone who had done exactly what I did. Sierra Nevada didn't need me to kill. It already had its servant. Night 11. I heard footsteps circling the cabin. Not snow falling, not wind, but the sound of bare feet, dragging slowly, like someone injured. I held my breath. Gary, silence. Jack, still silence. I stood, opened the door. No one, but in the snow footprints, bare, leading toward the forest. I followed them, flashlight in one hand, knife in the other. I wasn't afraid, I was curious. And then I found the bodies. Not just one, all of them. Mikey, Jack, Gary laying in a snow pit, arranged in a perfect circle, their faces turned upward, as if watching me. I stepped back and tripped on something. A pair of shoes, not mine, not theirs. I rushed back to the cabin. Ted was gone. The fire was out. The door left wide open. On the bed where he had slept, a message written in blood. Your turn. Day 12. No voices, no fire. I locked the cabin from the inside, boarded up the windows. I didn't want light. I sat in the corner, knife in hand, eyes locked on the dark. I waited. I spoke to my mother. She died when I was 9. Tuberculosis. But last night, she sat beside me, stroked my hair, and said, "You've done well. Your father would be proud." I cried like a child. I saw myself small again, in her lap, by a fire. No fear left. Then I heard the door creak open. I sprang up. No one there, but behind me a breath. I turned. It was Ted. His eyes sunken, hands shaking as he gripped a hammer. We both lunged, fell to the floor. Blood spilled from my temple where I hit the corner of the table. He screamed, "You monster." I laughed, too late. I stabbed him, once, twice, a third time, until he didn't move anymore. Day 13. I was the last one. The cabin reeked of blood, smoke, and rotten snow. Ted's body lay wrapped in a blanket, like he was just sleeping. I slept on the floor, knees pulled to my chest like a fetus. No one came, no one searched, no one remembered. I carved these words into the cabin wall using a burnt stick. I'm not a monster, I'm a mirror. Death didn't come for me, just opened the door faster. April 1978. 3 weeks after the snow melted, I left the cabin, alone. Hair wild like a beast, ripped clothes, face pale from the cold. And from what I had done, I didn't look back. No goodbyes, no sorry, because I knew no one would forgive me. A truck carrying wood stopped in the middle of the cold mountain road. The driver was an old man named Clayton, who didn't ask many questions. He said, "I've seen war. Your eyes look like someone who came back from it." I didn't smile, I just nodded. I took a new name, Daniel Ross, and started a new life in Sacramento where no one knew who I was or what I had done on that snowy mountain. I rented a small room on the 3rd floor of an old building. No windows. I liked that. I was afraid. If I looked outside, I'd see their faces. But the first night, I heard a knock on the door. Not loud, just soft. 3 knocks. Knock, knock, knock. I opened the door. No one there. But on the floor, there was a folded piece of paper, written in block letters with a pen. "We're still here." I couldn't sleep. I couldn't. I sat in the dark, listening. The sound of chains, dragging, whispers. Laughter from Jack, deep and choking, like it came from a throat torn apart. I went to the bathroom, looked in the mirror. I didn't see myself. I only saw Mikey. I went to church, hoping to find some peace. The priest stared at me longer than usual, then said, "You're carrying things that aren't yours." I asked, "What do you see?" He replied, "There are 4 souls standing behind you, and a demon is laughing." I met a girl named Emily. She worked at the diner in the building where I lived. Red hair, always squinting with a smile. She said, "You've got a sad look in your eyes, but not the kind of sad that's normal. More like, you've got someone's corpse in your heart." I was about to walk away, but she grabbed my hand. I started to love again, for the first time since I killed them. Emily didn't know. She made me feel like I was still human, still capable of touching life. But that made them angry. One night, Emily and I were having dinner when the phone rang. I picked it up, a man's voice, low, whispering, "There's still one missing, isn't there?" I dropped the phone. Emily looked at me. Who was that? I lied, wrong number, but I knew it was Ted. I started losing sleep again. I bought stronger sleeping pills, but every time I closed my eyes, I saw the same scene. The cabin, the fire, blood, and Mikey's body sitting up, crawling toward me, his mouth grinning wide, dripping blood. Want to play again? I went to the police, not to confess. No, I just asked. The Yuba 5 missing persons case. Is anyone still alive? The officer looked at the file, then shook his head. Only one body was found first. The others disappeared completely. I left the station, my heart heavy, because I knew they were still there, waiting for me. A week later, I found a photo slipped under my door. A picture of the cabin. Someone had taken it recently. The angle was blurry, but I swear I saw myself standing inside the window, looking out. Emily started to worry. She said I talked in my sleep, jerked awake, beat the walls, and mentioned names she had never heard before. Gary, Jack, Mikey, Ted. She asked who they were. I lied. I don't know. I decided to go back to the Sierra Nevada one last time. I rented a car, took a gun and a notebook. I wrote, if I die, then it's deserved. If I survive, that cabin will burn down, along with all my sins. When I arrived, the snow was falling lightly. The cabin still stood, no change. The wooden door was open, as if it was waiting for me. I walked in, the old smell hit me. Ashes, smoke, dried blood, and there was someone sitting on the bed. I stood in the ruined cabin, the darkness surrounding me. This wasn't like the other times. It wasn't just the still cold. It wasn't just the wind howling outside. This was a presence. My hair stood on end, my skin prickled. It felt as though I was being watched, and then I heard it. You can't run anymore, Daniel. It wasn't Emily's voice. It wasn't anyone I had ever known. It was cold, echoing like it came from deep within the snow-covered earth. It was Mikey. I turned around, my eyes strained. Through the faint light of the oil lamp, I saw the shadow move past the window. It couldn't be anyone else. It was him, Mikey. His eyes still looked the same, but this time they weren't smiling. They were just staring at me, deep, unblinking. He moved closer, his hands covered in blood. You should have killed me. I stepped back. My chest tightened. My breath grew shallow. No, that's not it. But I wasn't sure anymore. That image still haunted me, like a shadow. When I pulled the trigger, I couldn't believe it anymore. Death wasn't that easy. He stood there, unmoving. Why? I whispered, my voice cracking. Mikey replied with a voice that wasn't his, but rather all of theirs. Do you even know what you've done? The question wasn't for an answer. It felt like an accusation. They won't forgive you. You can't escape forever. The sounds from outside grew louder. The cracking of something, footsteps. Do something. Mikey's voice grew quiet. Now you know. They've been waiting for you. I ran outside. I still heard the laughter, the breathing, strange noises, like a group was chasing me. A gang, they were closing in. In the dim light, I saw Ted holding a broken stick, his face bloodied, mouth wide in a terrifying smile. He growled, "You can't run, Daniel." Then a gunshot echoed, the smell of gunpowder, the stick shattered. I couldn't see anything but a dark figure, and then memories came flooding back. Those days when we were climbing the mountain, we played, we laughed, and then it turned into an escape. We had fallen into our own trap, and I just couldn't stop. By that point, I was too far gone. This terrifying truth, it couldn't be undone. There was nothing left but a monster inside me. I killed you all. I screamed. I killed all of you. All of you. They didn't answer. I didn't want to hear it. I couldn't bear it. When night fell, I sat still. There was nothing but the sound of the wind howling through the window. Only me and the shadow of myself. All those memories. The police found me the next morning, the only one left alive. I didn't fight. I didn't resist. The trial day, when I stood in court, I saw the faces of the victims' families, anger, sorrow, grief in their eyes. But I didn't cry. I just stared at the ceiling, where the stars still shone brightly in the dark. I couldn't fix anything anymore, because what was lost couldn't be found again, and all that was left was a dark past. On my last day in the cell, I heard the laughter. It wasn't anyone else's. It was mine, and I knew I had survived. But the part of me that was human had died long ago, so I accepted it. I just wished I could sleep and never wake up.